Why? Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. DB333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron for Kaiserreich as the German Empire. Now, last video, after a very, very prolonged break, we got back to work on digging Germany out of Black Monday. Now, it took a fair bit of work, but we're nearing the end of the tunnel, my friends. We're also working on getting Ireland into our sphere of influence more directly. Which we're catching up pretty well, methinks. We have a couple days left to do that, but we're getting there. Meanwhile, what do we want to do? We still have plenty of time. So we have until the... Okay, so we have until the start of the Weltkrieg to get this demand to worry figured out. Alright, in the meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and we're going to establish some price controls. Yeah. One of the most unfortunate effects of the economic crisis is the breakdown of market prices, either too low, too high because of lacking supply and punishing the people, or too low because of lacking demand and so punishing the business. Through strategic taxation and financial investments, the state must intervene and bring order to the market. There we go. Let's get to it. Unpause. A group of anonymous officers and administrators in Middle Africa have compiled documentation and evidence of illegal activity by Governor Karl Ritter, presented to the cabinet. The evidence, if proven true, is highly serious. According to what dossier alleges, the governor has been diverting funds from the state budget to buy off key figures in German high society in order to secure support for his administration, as well as demanding state officials pay into a slush fund. Even more darkly, alleges with less evidence, Karl Ritter and his loyalists have gathered information for blackmail against his own employees, been involved in kidnapping, intimidating journalists, and even hiring assassins. Well, a formal investigation must be conducted immediately. We cannot have something like this. Ooh. Well, with Karl Ritter gone, we must appoint a new governor. While his disgrace, there's still hope that whoever remains of his administration can bring order to the colony. Perhaps someone more experienced would be best in these turbulent times. We'll do Rudolf Asmus, a famous and experienced administrator, will restore order. Hopefully that'll be good. There we go. So this will restore British self-rule. Interesting. Okay. Interesting indeed. Okay. How are we doing decision-wise? We could hold a summit for peace. Ooh, what do we got? Delegates from all Mittel Europa states gathered in Berlin for biannual discussions as well as negotiations in the direction of the bloc's activities. Through hundreds of different issues, were discussed, only those which receive the attention of enough member states will receive the time of day that they need. Also, we have the chairman of the Mittel European Commission, which is currently from the German Empire, to select which of the main proposals will be implemented by the bureaucratic authorities. There are two proposals with considerable support from member states, which sadly means that not everyone can be satisfied with the Commission's decision today. However, it is up to chairman. So military factory or Production. We'll do Mitteleuropa arms experts. There we go. Let's go back to enabling automatic pressure. Follow New York City. Let's add some more guns to the mix. The cities are really not doing well, are they? Ooh. Some military engineering vehicles. Sure. I have no idea what any of this really means, to be honest, but it does sound like potentially fun. Let's race for some tungsten, actually. Sure. It should be no surprise that not everyone's happy with the formation of the first social democratic government in German history. Conservative and reactionary politicians are livid and are searching for any lever of power which they could topple our cabinet. The solution they found came from Prussia, where, thanks to the plural suffrage of a House of Reps, the aristocratic composition of House of Lords, they hold an outsized amount of power. In Prussia, we chosen the path of complete obstruction. One after another, protests against federal legislation have been lodged by Prussian legislatures. Cooperation between these two branches of government has become increasingly difficult, if even possible. The final slap in the face came when the Prussian House of Lords suddenly refused to vote on next year's Prussian budget and declined any alternative proposals with the same level of vitriol. Outright obstructionism with the intent of taking down the Prussian government in order to press the pain on the SPD. Very tactless move, but one which is genuinely painful. The federal government still relies on the Prussian administration to execute its laws. Prussian civil service is getting furloughed, and the entire government may end up paralyzed. This is outright sabotage. Oh, those sons of bitches. Months pass, and political struggles that marked the year after the Berlin stock market crash have still not died down. Facilities and reforms and the constant necessity of compromise with conservative politics continue to frustrate the support base of the Social Democratic Party. Though few believe that Mueller and the rest of the cabinet could swipe a magic wand and bring forth an equitable social order in a single day, they are hardly expecting such a struggle either. Secretary of Interior Karl Severing has recently stoked the flames in German society significantly, tasked to reform the federal and Prussian administrations and ease the enforcement of social and political reforms. Severing has called out the perceived reactionary tendencies in the Prussian civil service, a historically significant, respected, and very powerful institution. They obstruct the passing and enforcement of reforms with the intent of sabotaging the first social democratic government. Needless to say, the political right has not taken these criticisms well. Numerous attacks against Severing and the Mueller government were published in the Kaiserreich, the influential newspaper of the Prussian upper class, in which the impartiality and perfection of the civil service system was defended. The SPD attacked for its intentions to, quote, politicize these civil servants in order to enforce the dictatorship of the working class, unquote. We must review the bureaucracy. Democratization of the service law. So which one is that? Oh, that's this one? That's not too bad at all. Okay. Yeah, we could do that after this one. That's no biggie. What do I want to do next, though? Let's get some better engine going. Let's get Daimler. Our Middle African governor has come with us with a request for aid. He speaks of Portugal supporting bandits that murder German African police and endanger our Africa. What should we do? We shall take up the matter with Portugal ourselves. There we are. Portuguese ambassador explained in great detail the chaotic situation in the Remuva region. Well, who knew Africa was so complicated? No matter the demand, they stepped down immediately. A number of companies have decided that they are going to invest in Egypt. Well, let us both profit. We could do some housing expansions. Let's do some housing expansions in Saxony. Packing workers in railroad cars and basements like Sardinian is not acceptable for the German welfare state. We must peruse mass expansion of affordable housing to the working class in Saxon. A project which will not only improve the standard of living but also allow further growth in the cities. There we go. Ooh. Not just the conservatives who found themselves offended by Karl Severing's criticism of these civil service complaints. The Prussian wing of Zentrum was able to complain about the statement as well. Dominated by arch-conservative and aristocrats such as the former Interior Minister of Prussia, Franz von Papen, the Catholic politicians see the Prussian civil service as a tool with which to prevent a liberal and socialist takeover, a devil they know and prefer to distinguish disgusting radicalism of the SPD, at least from their point of view. Being a heterogeneous party of all Catholics, Zentrum has to include such politics in their ranks as well. And though such criticism of coalition policy needs to be punished, perhaps we can let this mudslinging from view rather than reactionary slide. Yeah, we will. We have to. No. Interesting. Though seemingly besieged from all sides by the conservatives and reactionaries, the Demokratische Union has plenty of supporters as well. Today, a novel, yet not entirely unexpected endorsement came from the Nobel Prize laureate, longtime chairman of the Institute of Physics of the Kaiser Wilhelm Society, Albert von Einstein. Recognized as one of the greatest minds of the 20th century thanks to his groundbreaking theories of general and special relativity, Einstein holds great prestige among German high society, and he uses his weight to campaign for political ideals. He's a member of the pacifist Bund Neues Vaterland, which campaigns for world peace and adherence to international law, has written filing socialism and social reform, and supports the creation of a Jewish national homeland in Palestine. Now, he also openly endorses our government, stating in writing that of the parties completing in the Reichstag, the necessity for great social and political reform in the empire can only be achieved by the SPD. That is greatly appreciated. Conservative newspapers quickly picked up von Papen's statement and published them in bold letters on the front page, loudly declaring that the coalition is in trouble and that Severing's discussing attacks on the pride of German society. Civil servants are in the minority, agitating the left wing of the coalition, the SPD, and the liberals, to whom reform of the civil service is a necessary move in order to democratize the empire from its very roots. Petitions from party members are arriving to the office of Reich Chancellor Mueller, demanding him to not waver to the pressure. They often carry an accusative tone, fearing that the party is being all words and no talk. We will need to spend additional efforts to convince our members that this is merely a fluke. Bastards. Faced with aggressive resistance of the House of Lords, the government in Prussia, which already conservative and opposed the SPD, chose to join along. The Prussian cabinet has been reshuffled, and more right-wing conservative politicians have been added to their ranks, all the while the minister-president announced that they will refuse all offers to negotiate with the federal government for the time being. A standoff between the federal and Prussian governments, feared ever since the positions of the Reich Chancellor and Prussian minister-president were severed from one another, has begun. A very conservative Prussian budget, which would deliberately cripple federal government functions, may be passed in the future, but for now, government is increasingly becoming paralyzed. Ooh, not good. I think I goofed. I remember making that choice. This is nicht gut. Alright. Let's go ahead. Let's do democratization of service law. To ensure civil servants' acceptance of our government, we must push through amendments to civil service law, which will require all civil servants to make an oath to accept and protect the Constitution, the same Constitution under which we operate, of course. There we go. Let's get capital controls going. I'll wait for the autosave to kick through. Another government, really? There we go. Partially secret meeting between numerous influential figures by the right has been held in Berlin, where the reforms by the Mueller cabinet and the recent political realignment in the Prussian legislature were being discussed. A surprising show of unity ever since their failure to top either Kurt von Schleicher or the Democratic Coalition in '36. The meeting was organized by Chairman of DKP and DBLP, Kuno von Bastarp and Ulrich von Hassel. They're joined by their contact in the German Prussian House of Lords, Otto II, zu Horst Meyer, long-known sympathizer of Hassel's far-right movement. Heinrich Klaas, representing the Pan-German League, Adolf von Trotha from the Navy League, and Thilo von Wilmowski, considered well acquainted with several interest groups, were also present. The discussions centered around the SPD-led government and its future. All attendees agreed that the social democratic agenda will lead to syndicalism, mob rule, economic collapse, decay of moral values, so on and so forth. Though nothing specific came out of the meeting, yet all attendees guaranteed their support to the rebellion in the Prussian legislature and vowed to seize the downfall of the cabinet to Mueller and the ascension of a responsible government from the national opposition by all means necessary. Well, that is nicht gut. Now we're doing government paralysis-wise. That's another hit to political power. It's not too bad right now, but it will grow. Okay, shit. An extraordinary meeting of the Reich Council and his secretaries, as well as representatives of all parties representing the Democratic Union, has been held, in which the budget failure of the Prussian legislature was the main topic of discussion. A few options were considered. Briefly, the possibility of Reich sex education was brought up. I thought it was Reich sex education for a second. I was very confused. However, though Prussia's uncooperation with the federal government certainly fulfills the requirements, it is considered too extreme to ever be pulled off. How could the Prussian army choose to overthrow its own government? Instead, the cabinet came to the conclusion that they must negotiate. There are a few avenues to make Prussia bend without a violent rupture. The anti-social democratic coalition of the House of Reps is not solid. It's composed of several different interests. Some may be more willing to negotiate with us than others. We also find useful, helpful allies in the Prussian government who could do the negotiating for us. Let us review our options. Okay. Let's communicate with Adenauer in the House of Lords. Though the House Lords may have been for the reactionaries, we do have a few of our men in there. One of them is Conrad Adenauer, mayor of Cologne since 1917, and due to a clause in the Prussian Constitution, also a member of the Prussian House of Lords. In the Zentrum, he is a known entity, somewhat connected to Steigerwald, and is no friend of the left, yet close to us due to his bitter hatred towards Prussianism. He is willing to use his presence in the House of Lords to negotiate for us and bend peers to our favor. However, he needs to guarantee some promises which he can propose to the Lords in order to sway them. Well, we'll give him as much support as he needs. Are you fucking kidding me? That is a 10% chance. What is this, fucking die tonight? Most of you did not get that reference. If you did, we'll be having a community therapy event in the comments section if you need that reminder. Alright. Oh, that was such a load of barnacles. How's Spain going? Alright. I'm gonna save here so we don't have that malarkey happen again. We also have to do this, of course. There we go. Hold on to this one. There we are. We'll keep pushing into the north. For the Franco-German War, I think I read this one before. There we go. Heil dem Kaiserreich. Pushing up to this river up here. Macedonia. Oh. Yeah, let's do a limited trade agreement with Norway. That does sound nice. Yeah. Democratization of service law has been done. Let's invite the National Liberals into the coalition. After unification of the NLP and the FEV into the United Liberal People's Party, the National Liberals effectively disappeared from the political scene on the federal level, aside from a few local candidates who still hold onto their individual constituencies. They remain a powerful force on the Prussian level. Here, the more conservative electorate and the greater influence of the wealthy elite, thanks to the plural voting, allows them to carve out a reasonably sized parliamentary group, which cooperates with the DKP and participate in Siegfried von Rodern's anti-SPD Grand Coalition government in the past. This does not mean that they cannot be negotiated with, however, especially as the business interests that support the NLP are likely anxious at the Russian legislature's terroristic actions, much rather prefer a cooperative attitude that keeps the market stable. Of course, it also means that we won't have to make promises to industry and business or wish to sway them. Let's be generous with our promises. There we go. Um... Let's restore the interfaction community. The Interfaction Committee was originally established in 1970 to coordinate the actions of reformist parties during the last years of Weltkrieg, ultimately led to the promulgation of the March Constitution. The situation calls for us to reestablish it. A permanent committee, representatives from all coalition members, will help find the necessary compromises. There we are. Oh. Well, that's a little, dumb. Ooh. The Swiss government, overthrown by Singles rebels, there was chaos in many predominantly German cities in Switzerland. Many, fearing punitive action from the new government, have fled across the border into Germany, seeking the protection of the Kaiser from Singles menace. Well, we welcome them. Oh, would you look at that? They have gone full-blown red. Oh. There goes Puerto Rico. Excavation. And that's our time for today. Luckily for you guys, I'm feeling like pushing a little further. Let's offer some concessions on agriculture. First, let's go ahead and free some political prisoners for the left SPD. There were left-wingers in our party concerned with the numerous socialist activists detained and even imprisoned by our empire's numerous security agencies during the past 2 decades. While some of them are there for good reason, they demand the obvious cases of witch hunting to have their sentences commuted or lessened. And we can do that. There goes the autosave. So offer some concessions on ag. Agrarian organizations such as the Landbund Association of German Farmers Association hold considerable sway over some members of the houses of the Prussian legislature, and though some, especially the Landbund, are fairly reactionary, their single-minded focus on the interests of the farmers means we can find agreements with them. Shall we offer generous support to their support bases? The EDB, led by Zentrum politician Andreas Hermes, will be particularly helpful in seeing an agreement through, though we will still need to make promises and offer assurances. Let's do that. There we go. After negotiations, the ag lobby in Prussia accept our offer. Will now cooperate with us in passing a new Prussian budget. Very nice. After some part, and thanks to successful efforts to initiate negotiations from our part, the support for the rebellion in the Prussian legislators waned, and as more and more of its former supporters are now accepting of a compromise. Ultimately, even the reactionaries in the Prussian House of Lords had to accept the situation was no longer tenable. An ad hoc committee between the Prussian legislators and members of the Reichstag was established, in which an agreement was struck. Prussia will vote on a new moderate budget, while the Demokratische Union will reduce Prussia's payment to the imperial budget somewhat and cut down on their attempts to influence the Prussian civil service. Not everyone in SPD is comfortable with this agreement, but a cooperative Prussia is still better than an angry Prussia and a paralyzed government. Good work, team. There we go. Let's build some more military factories here, here. Yeah, that works. Alright, in the meanwhile, we'll add some more equipment. And we'll also go ahead and end the video here. Thanks always for watching, my friends. If you like, so you like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, the sub button, as well as the notification bell. Ooh, Ukrainian state, huh? The sub button, as well as the notification, the notification bell to keep updated with these uploads as they come out. Like, so if you like, dislike, if you didn't, leave any comments down in the comment section below. I appreciate any feedback you might have for me. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave things there, my friends. Thank you as always for watching. My name has been Mr. DB333, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye now.